All right, it's mailbag time. I'm diving into your questions that came in during our live show on Monday afternoon. And hey, before we get into it, do me a solid, hit that share button, send this to a buddy, a family member, or even someone who doesn't know anything about the Falcons. Help us grow the channel. First up, A and K. You're predicting the Falcons trade back for Donovan Azaruko, the edge rusher from Boston College. I like where your head's at. This guy doesn't have the insane sack numbers like Mike Green, but he's still up there, second or third in the FBS. Boston College isn't exactly the talk of college football, so Azaruko's been flying under the radar. But I'm all for this take. If the Falcons trade back from pick 15 and pick up an extra second rounder, Azaruko could absolutely be a great target. Next, Frisco Gaming wants to know what I think about the Falcons trading up for Jalen Walker. Personally, I'm not sold on him being a top 10 pick. You're talking about trading up from 15 to, let's say, 10. That's going to cost you probably a third-round pick next year. Do you pull the trigger on that? Would you rather have Walker or a guy like Mike Green? For me, Walker doesn't scream trade multiple picks for me, so I'd hold off on making that big move. Now, Landon Hale asks about trading up with the Browns, offering a swap plus a future first-round pick and Kirk Cousins. Whoa, buddy, that's going to take more than that. You're talking about Kirk Cousins, a good QB, but a little pricey now, and a future first. Remember when the 49ers jumped from 12 to 3 for Trey Lance? They had to give up 2 future first-round picks. So yeah, I don't think the Browns are picking up the phone for that deal. Andrew Beto. Here's an interesting one. Do you think trading back, grabbing Malachi Starks or Nick Eamon, and then grabbing an edge later on could work? I'm leaning towards no, at least in the first round. This defense is looking for a cornerstone player, someone to build around. Adding another safety when you've already got an all-pro safety doesn't move the needle enough for me. So while I'm not saying it's a bad idea, I'd rather see them focus on making a big impact with that first pick, not just another guy at a position they're already solid in. Now let's talk about the Bates and Fuller situation. If you're switching it up to Bates and Starks, is that defense actually better than Bates and Fuller with Mike Green up front? Honestly, I'd rather roll with the Mike Green version. Don't get me wrong, I like Starks, but that combination of Bates and Green gives you a much stronger front. Thanks for the question, Andrew. Really appreciate it. Next, the Connect asks if Raheem Morris could get fired mid-season. No chance. I'd be shocked if that happened. To be real, it'd take the Falcons starting 0-5, 0-6, maybe even 0-7, and a complete locker room meltdown, something I don't see happening. Despite last year's 8-9 record, Raheem Morris earned huge praise from his players. According to an NFLPA survey, his players graded him as one of the best coaches in terms of valuing their time, so the locker room's still fully behind him. Even if they start slow, which I don't think will happen, it would take a serious disaster for a change like that. I don't see it happening under Raheem's watch. Jason Greenway wants to give thanks to the great Julio Jones. Jason, appreciate it, man. I know we didn't get you that ring, but you were an absolute legend for the Falcons. It's impossible to overstate what Julio meant to this team. It's worth reminding everyone, not just Falcons fans, about what Atlanta gave up to move up and snag him at pick number 6. That trade haul was big, but man, did he live up to every bit of it. Now, Carson's got an interesting question. He asks, what's the craziest draft pick Terry Fontenot could make? Well, if the Falcons pulled the trigger on an offensive tackle, that would definitely be a wait what moment. I don't think it'd be a terrible pick, though. With a young quarterback and a right tackle who's more of a run blocker, it's not the worst idea in the world. If they fall in love with someone like Kelvin Banks or Josh Simmons, I could see Atlanta going that route. But if it were me, I'd probably lean towards addressing edge in round 2 since this is such a deep class for pass rushers. But hey, I wouldn't rule anything out. Now let's get back to the questions. First up, let's talk about Justin Simmons potentially joining the Falcons secondary. Honestly, It's a bit of a stretch, especially this year. Atlanta just signed Jordan Fuller as their new starting safety, and they went for a more budget-friendly option at that position. So I'd say it's more likely something that could happen in 2026, if it happens at all. Who knows? Maybe things will change, but for now, it's pretty unlikely. Next, Falcons fan asks, what's more likely? Drafting Mike Green at 15, going DB in round 1 and edge in round 2, trading back in round 1 for Ezeru, or trading Pitts and Kirk to move up and get Abdul Carter? Okay, let's break this down from most to least likely. First, I'd say drafting Mike Green at 15 is the most likely. I don't think there'll be a ton of teams calling up the Falcons from the back of round 1 to move up to 15, so staying put and seeing if Green falls to them makes the most sense. Next, I'd put trading back in round 1. Teams in the 20s might see an opportunity to jump up and grab a first-round talent, especially since there are only about 32 first-round grades in this draft. So, a few teams might try to trade up, but it's not guaranteed. As for the rest, trading Pitts and Kirk to move up for Abdul Carter, that's a bit more out there. It's certainly intriguing, but I'd consider it the least likely of the options. Still, anything can happen come draft day. If you want a round 1 player, you're probably going to have to move up to get one. So I'd prioritize that as the top option, followed by going DB in round 1. Trading Pitts and Kirk to move up for Abdul Carter, I'd put that fourth. There are just too many moving pieces for me to put that ahead of staying at 15 and making the most of your spot. Connor asks, do you think the Falcons are done with free agency? And if not, who could they realistically target, assuming they can't trade Kirk? I think they're done with major free agent signings. They might make a few smaller moves to round out the roster, maybe filling out depth at the back end of the chart, but as for anyone making over $5 million a season, I think that ship has sailed. Now, on to Skyline Merch TV's question about D. Alfred's signing. Is this a desperate signing or a value signing? To me, it's a value signing. I haven't seen the full contract details, but I expect it to be something like a 1-year, $2.5 to $3 million deal. Worst case scenario, you've got a solid backup. Best case, he steps up, earns the starting job, and performs well. It's low risk and gives you depth at a reasonable price. You're out $2.5 million. How many other corners can you get for that kind of money who are potentially better? Not many. Next, ATL Falcons Talk asks, do you think Juden could come back on a cheap deal? Honestly, when free agency first kicked off, it seemed like a burned bridge between the Falcons and Juden. But now, as free agency slows down and the money's running out, Juden might have to lower his asking price. If he's willing to take a 1-year, $5 million contract, maybe the Falcons look at him again. But at that price, Juden could probably find a better deal elsewhere. So, it's a tough call, but definitely something to keep an eye on as the market cools down. ZD Productions asks, how confident are you in the wide receiver's ability to improve their catching, considering how fast Penn throws the ball? Well, they've got about 6 months to get it together. Most receivers and quarterbacks start working out together in late February or March, so expect a lot of practice in Florida or California, depending on where the team's based. And while Penix is from Tennessee, that kind of timing should help them get ready for the season. I'm really looking forward to seeing Penn, Mooney, London, and Ray hitting the gym together in Florida. By September, they better be ready to roll. If they're not, then they didn't put in enough effort during the offseason. Now, let's talk about Drake London. What do you think his contract extension will look like? Is it smarter to lock it in now or wait until next year? Personally, I have a lot of faith in Drake London becoming a standout player. If the Falcons can get this deal done now, they might save some cash in the long run, but if they're still unsure about whether he'll live up to the contract, waiting could be a smart move. I think it would be a great idea for Atlanta to finalize this deal around July. Once the draft is behind them and everyone takes a break for a few weeks after minicamp, it's the perfect time to get things sorted before training camp kicks off. Imagine London starting training camp with a shiny new contract in his pocket. After 3 years in the league, he's eligible for an extension, and I think a deal could look something like $26 to $27 million a season. T. Higgins just signed for a little over $28 million, so I can see London coming in just under that. Let's make the math easy and call it $28 million a year for 4 years. That puts us at around $112 million total for Drake London. And hey, I know there's been some chatter about jersey numbers, but let's clear that up. Drake London wears number 5, not 11. I get it, Julio Jones retired, and that number has some history, but let's keep the focus on London. That's a wrap for today's mailbag.